like to do now is just talk a little bit about some of the things that you will need to think about with your wire work. As you know, you've been asked to do 2 pieces, one little simple one and one that's a bit more elaborate. And so what I'd like to suggest, I think you've all, thanks Janae, welcome back. I think you've all, now this is my first gap in my presentation. I thought I had a split wire band here. Right there. Thank you so, oh God, what an idiot. So I think you've all made at least one of these, and this is the foundation piece for practically everything. And before I start, I'd just like to talk with you a little bit about the different types of wire. I have here the standard brim wire, which is the one that you all have. It comes in black and white. This is the black one, of course. This is the higher tensile, stronger wire. I'm sure some expert would know what gauge it is. I actually haven't got that in my brain at the moment. But this is really useful for people, you know, you're sure to come across someone who'll say, oh yes, I would like a headband, but I don't want elastic, I don't like elastic. So this stuff here is another alternative that you can use. The thing about this particular wire is that it is a lot tougher and stronger than your brim wire. So it can be adequately sprung. And I'm going to just have a little argument with it for a minute. I like to take it off the roll by doing what I've just done. This is about $50 or so a roll. If you would like to use some, but it's a bit dear for you, you can get a smaller roll, but you can also team up with your classmates and actually do a roll together. Okay, for this particular type of wire, you need to use these ones because the thinner ones, the ordinary pliers, will again not cope brilliantly well. Now I'm doing my overlap a lot longer than usual, and I'm going to show you why. So let's say, and probably what's also handy to have is a roll of sticky tape or masking tape when you're doing this, because you can do your temporary joins and then later on you can do more permanent joins. So if you gently spring that, so you're just trying to get a curve that goes a bit continuous all along, and that way you can get something that is actually going to grip your head. I'm going to pass this around shortly, but you can see that that's not flying off in a hurry, and you could actually, as long as you didn't have too much luggage on it, have it go. Thank you very much, Fiona. Have it go for the whole thing. But if you wanted to, and this is for other headpieces as well, you can actually put your 3 fingers, which is my favourite distance, and then just bend that up. You've got your join there, but you've also got some prongs that you can use for hello party time. The other thing that you can also do is then do 2, 3, however many times, and get away, progressively further and further away from the head, and then you can do some radiating lines. And this is where, if you sketch it up, and if you have a look at that Pinterest page I sent you, I just did a whole lot of random stuff in there that hopefully will get you thinking, but that's a nice way to start. Now there are 2 types of join that I want you to think about. One of them is the parallel overlap. The other one is the T intersection. No, there's 3 actually. There's the T intersection where you've got, let's see, there's antlers, where you've got a piece that comes down and then goes down and joins onto your main piece. And in fact you can do up again, so it can be a U-turn. And in fact the best and strongest joins are the ones that are of wire that continues through, and it may not be a logical flow through, but if you can have your wire quite long and going into the next shape, you can actually have a much stronger construction. And this one is made also using little rings that show different circumferences. Why did it stall? It was an order for a client, and then he said, oh no, those are too big, I want them smaller. So we ended up with another piece, but it shows quite a few different aspects. This has got a soft wire on the band, and in fact, to be more successful, I think it should have a stronger wire there, and then your standard brim wires there. And also there's I think a lot of you have used the trim wire, the thinner one, this finer one. This one I wouldn't wrap, but I would wrap the medium wire and the heavier wire, because that gives me something to stitch in. Okay, now, where am I going? Where am I going? Oh, this is another sample. Again, we do half finished samples here. This is a piece that is made to resemble a hat, but it's not a completed piece. And you can see that there's the radiating lines, and you can see there, that's a good example. I've got continuous lines going right up through the whole construction, just because that will give a much more stable shape. And it should really have a couple of, this line should come up and down and then up into there. So you can actually look for where your continuous lines are going in your construction. But something like this, if I then wrapped it and then covered it, it could end up being quite an interesting piece. I'm going to just take this piece out of this box. This was done by one of my third years who was here the year before Lisa was here with us. And you can see here, it's really quite a clean, classic shape, but she's made very good sense of it with the use of a thin lace fabric, which is then stretched over the shape and just stab stitched onto the base. And to my mind, it's quite a simple construction, but this was used in one of the parades, and I think that's why it didn't come back. The elastic's fairly tight, but to me, I think it's a really successful example of a wire work that's not too fussy, not too many things going on, but it's a really sweet shape, and yeah, quite a successful piece. But you can see there that it shows off that lace to its best advantage as well. Another piece, which I think you might have already seen, and again, this is a little tiara piece, which has got a little bit of the forest sprite about it, and loosely built tulle draping over it with a little bit of sparkle and some random shapes with the wire. But you can see she's used those wire circles and linked them all together in between the split wire band, and that's given the result. So when you're doing your joins, my favourite way of doing it, where's my, I could have come prepared with 450 to do this. Maybe we'll stop the video and I'll get the equipment.